Wow. Hello. This is awkward. It's been so long since I've recorded anything. My name is Lexon, and on this channel, we talk about stuff like I was in the middle of having no ideas for the last 8 weeks when I had the idea to make a video about what to do when you have no ideas. So it kind of appears that most of my ideas are a little bit meta in this way. For example, one of my hit videos, Create or Be Consumed, a lot of people were like, this is a little bit ironic how you're talking about not consuming other people's media in order to become healthy, and yet you're making media for people, millions of people to watch. And I'm like, yeah, it seems to be a pattern in my content. So this idea to make this video did not come out of nowhere. It actually did come from that video I mentioned, like Create or Be Consumed. Because in that video, I mention it's important to make the things that mean a lot to you and bring the most meaning to you personally. And there were a few people in the comments, and I did read all of them. I didn't realize there were like over 1,000 of them, but I did read all of them. There are some people who are like, what if I have no ideas? What if there's nothing that meaningful to me? What do I make? I feel pressured to make something then. Like, I feel pressured to make something meaningful. And back then, when I was reading those comments, I was kind of like in an uppity attitude. I was like, no ideas? Nothing in your life that brings you meaning that you want to create art of? You don't have anything? And I was like, that feels impossible. But then that's kind of what I experienced for the next 8 months or so. No, not 8 months, 8 weeks. So I'm sorry for prejudging you commenters for this conundrum. Back then, I did consider making this video and making it a little bit snarky because I was like, no ideas. You have to be able to find meaning in your life somewhere, right? There has to be something meaningful to you that you want to create stuff of. And I still kind of think that's true for everyone, but I also think that meaning cannot be derived from just sitting around and doing nothing. Meaning cannot be derived from inaction. I used to think that before I did anything, there had to be a meaning behind doing that. Well, I didn't allow myself to do anything unless there was a deeper meaning to it, a deeper plan. I couldn't make a piece of fan art unless I felt really strongly about this character, and the fan art was going to be really meaningful, and the fan art was going to bring out this aspect of this character, or bring out a technique, an artistic technique that I thought was going to be meaningful, and I thought it needed to add value to the fandom. And then I was not allowing myself to make videos unless they were meaningful as well, personally meaningful. I can't make videos unless it indicated some major inner character growth I had, or it was going to change someone else's life or bring meaning or value into someone else's life. I didn't even allow myself to do very small things. For example, I wouldn't allow myself to work out unless there was a meaning behind it. I needed some kind of grand plan behind everything I did, every decision I make. I wouldn't allow myself to exercise unless there was some greater moral meaning to it. I can't work out because I'm not at that point in my story yet. There's no story here. Why would I exercise? Why would I become more fit if there's no accompanying storyline as to why? I usually only exercise if there's some sort of end goal for it. For example, if I want to cosplay and I want to become a skinny little twink, in order to do that, I need to exercise so that I can fit that character. Or I only exercise when it's I need to break my own personal barriers. And I'm this is an act of defiance. I am doing something dramatic and empowering for myself right now. So the moral of the story is that I usually don't act unless there is already meaning there for me. I have already created a narrative as to what that action is going to bring me in the future, what it's going to mean to me in the future, what this means for my story in the future, how it's going to impact my character arc in the future. So I don't do unnecessary things, and I don't act unless it can fit into that story. And this is actually kind of problematic. And recently I've been realizing that acting brings meaning inherently. Sometimes meaning cannot be derived from purely your imagination, which is where it was coming from before. Sometimes it's not important the reason why you do something. It's only important that you do it. And that's kind of like a freeing thought for me as someone who like tends to overthink, overanalyze, overplan, and overindulge in the meaning of everything. It's just that like you will find the meaning more often than not after taking action. And after taking action, the meaning that you find after doing that is probably going to be more true and impactful than the meaning you preemptively created for yourself before ever taking action. You know what I mean? This is getting kind of like wavy. But to get back to like the point of this video, how to make stuff when you have no ideas. My main point is that you don't need ideas to make stuff. You don't. You just make stuff and then the ideas will come. This is how most things are made. Ideas don't come out of nowhere. Ideas come from things that already exist because you started doing something. You can start making stuff with no meaning, with no idea, with no greater purpose, and the meaning will come later. More ideas will come later. You cannot possibly generate the world's greatest, most genius idea out of thin air from just thinking and projecting into the future and what it could be. Good ideas are shit ideas at first. They only become good ideas after you start working on it and then you start refining it over and over and over. Once you start, you have something to look at. You're like, you have this little turd and you're like, okay, I have this now. How do I make it beautiful? And then you're like, what if I did this? What if I did that? And all those what ifs are ideas. Those what ifs would never happen if you never created the turd in the first place. So yes, that is the main point of the video. If that was what you were looking for, you feel free to leave. But there's a lot of other stuff that I would like to ramble about as well. This is so hard. No structure. No structure. So I guess another point about this is that it's important to keep on building on the things you've already done. So a bad habit that I have is that I don't usually build upon ideas that I have. For example, I will like have this one grand perfect idea and I will execute it here and it's its own little bubble and sphere over here. And then the next thing I make, I have to start completely over from scratch because I don't want to repeat myself. I basically want to become a different, completely different, better person in this new thing I create. And so what that means is that I can't take the things from the previous thing that were good and bring it into this new thing. What happens most often than not is I see all the flaws in the old thing and I'm like, I can't do that again. So it just creates more and more pressure within each new thing I create. I'm not allowed to repeat past mistakes. And yet I don't build upon the things that were positive that I learned because I want to become even more greater, better, stronger, faster. But I think this is flawed thinking. I think that in order to have consistent and healthy growth, you need to be able to like consistently build upon the things that you create and not like completely disregard old stuff because you think it's bad or outdated or you can do better. If we're going with the idea that ideas come from existing ideas, then like not building upon past ideas and instead discarding them and disregarding them completely, that is not very effective in expanding your library of things that you create throughout your life. All you're doing is cutting off potential futures instead of like opening them up. Another thing I think is that it's not necessarily that you don't have ideas. Maybe you have a lot of ideas, as was the case of me. So ever since the avatar arc of my channel, if you don't know, I blew up for 3 videos straight. One of them was like, I did a handwriting video and it's like basically at 1 million views right now. After that, I created Create or Be Consumed, which is also nearing 1 million views. And then I started my avatar arc where I applied to Avatar Studios and a lot of people followed me from that. After that, I was like, I blew up 3 times in a row. Have I peaked? Is it possible to come back to this level again? And so I became really afraid to make videos. And I think you can kind of tell because the next video was basically a sponsored video. Well, they didn't sponsor me, but it wasn't like my original idea. And then after that was the discussion video with my friend. And that was kind of just like a buffer video because I had lots of other videos that I wanted to make, but I was too scared to make because I was like, what if I flop? Oh yeah, and I also reached 100,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. I forgot to mention that. first time I reach 100K on any platform, so thank you for being here. Or if you're not subscribed, which it's likely that you aren't because like 90% of my viewers are not subscribed, that's fine. It's fine. Okay, but anyway, what was I even talking about? I was afraid of making a video that was subpar quality, that was gonna indicate that I had no more good ideas, that I had reached my peak already, and that I was going to just only fall into YouTube mediocrity. I was gonna become mediocre, gonna become one of those YouTubers that just make a video a week and have a sponsor in each one, and it's just their day job now. I was really afraid of that, and I made some videos in bad taste because I didn't want to become a YouTuber like that, even though it's completely valid to do that because it will earn you a livable wage. But basically I was chasing something very unattainable, which is that like blow up success, viral success. Once you've experienced it, it is a blessing and a curse because now I have 100 people perceiving me. So if these videos don't get 100,000 views, that means that I am becoming mediocre and overrated, is the meaning I created in my head, you see. So I was terrified to release videos. I had so many, right? I've actually filmed and edited many videos since then that I have just decided to not release because I know in my bones they will not reach that level. You see the problem here? I didn't start this YouTube channel to go viral with every video. I started this YouTube channel because I wanted to reach people that were like me, because I rarely see people like me on this platform, and I need those who are like me out there to know that I am here, and so you can be here too, doing whatever it is you want to do, making videos, just lurking, whatever. So this might not be completely relatable to you, especially if you haven't blown up like this. But the point is that I was having ideas. It's not like I had no ideas in the last like 2-3 months. It's actually the opposite. I had lots of ideas, but none of them were good ideas according to me, which is the equivalent of having no ideas to me. And basically, there's a lot of reasons to not do things. I am very, very good at criticizing stuff and finding flaws in things and giving myself and other people reasons to not do things. Why shouldn't you make this video? You know, it's already been done. Someone else has, not just someone else, thousands, millions of other people have done this before. Why should I make the exact same video that has been posted hundreds of thousands of times already? This is actually kind of valid. I probably shouldn't be saying that if I want this video to be motivational, but like, I think if you're gonna make a video or make anything, if it's been done, you can still make it and it can still be yours. But like, what is important is that you don't try to be someone else when you're making that video. Like, you can make a how to draw heads video, but just don't try to be Cynics. Don't try to be Ahmed Al-Duri. Don't try to be modern day James. Be you. How do you think about this? How are you dissecting this? Okay, another reason why you shouldn't make this video. Other people have done it better. Thousands of other people have done it better. Well, why should you even try? I don't have the skills. I can't edit as well as these people. I don't have the money to make it as good. I can't execute this idea to the best of my abilities or to the best of existing videos' abilities. Yeah, I guess you should just not try then. If it's been done before and it's been done better, honestly, it's kind of logical to like not step into that space if you know you cannot compete against people who are doing their best in their field. It is probably more smart to do your best in your field. You see what I'm saying? Don't fight other people in their arenas. Like, don't go into someone else's like house and try to fight them. They know all the places to hide. They know where all their knives are kept. Like, you need to build your own like little fortress of... This metaphor is falling apart. Basically, like, you know, if you're good at comedy, don't try to become someone who teaches. Or you can, and just be like Ethan Becker, I guess. But Ethan is smart because he knows he can't really be a modern day James. And James knows he can't really be Ethan Becker. They stay in their lanes. They make the stuff they're best at. Anyway, more reasons why you shouldn't make stuff. It's boring. What you make might be boring. Well, it shouldn't be boring to you to make it, though. If you're bored making it, then the viewers are probably going to be bored watching it. So just try to make stuff that you actually feel excited about, right? And then if you actually feel excited making it, then does it really matter how well it performs in the outside world? I mean, usually people are attracted to energy and not necessarily content that much. So, like, if you make boring stuff, people can tell that you're bored making it. Another reason not to make something, you don't have time. You're really busy in your daily life, busy with school, busy with work, busy with your family and friends, and just living a life. And you don't think that creating something is going to fit anywhere, and it just starts to feel like a burden, taking like time out of your day instead of like replenishing you in some way. If you're happy with your life and you no longer feel motivated to create because of that, isn't that good? But if you feel like there's something missing, even if your life is good and you're busy and you're occupied, then there's something to create. Maybe you don't know what that is yet, but like we said, the only way to find out is to start making the most shit thing you can think of, probably, and building from there. This is actually the main thing I've been struggling with. It's because like my old videos, those were all made in a period of change. People like to follow stories. People like to follow people who are going places. So, for example, when I made that social media video and when I made the avatar video, those are all stories with real stakes. So that will prompt people to click and watch, will prompt people to follow. When your life is very stable and there's no real like dramatic change, or you're not trying to like do some sort of big self-improvement journey or teach people how to be better and change themselves, or like when you're not going on a journey, it might feel difficult to make truly impactful stuff. You might think you need to create some sort of drama in your life, create some sort of catalyst for a story to happen in order to make a fun video. Well, if you're happy and you're happy not making stuff, that's fine. Not all things you create have to be created because of some big dramatic thing. For me, it was like in the last few months, I didn't land the avatar job. So I dove into like building my own business, right? I run a mentorship. I spend like 15 hours every weekend with students teaching them. And then I apply to like 10 to 15 conventions. So I have to prepare for all of those. And I was like, where does YouTube even fit in all of this? What story am I trying to tell anymore? I was really not sure. I'm busy with my students. I'm busy preparing for my conventions. I guess I could tell the story about that, but that has been told already by so many people, studio vlogs. I already tried that and it's not the right fit for me personally. And I was like, oh no, I don't have space in my life for YouTube anymore. So what's the solution? And then I was just like thinking, is YouTube even fun for me anymore? Is thinking about making videos, is making the video, editing the video, posting the video and reading the comments, is it all even fun anymore? And the answer was like a resounding no, and I was like, this is a problem. YouTube should be fun. That's the whole point. I should be having fun. You should be having fun. We should all be having fun here. Otherwise, why are we here? So I guess that's one of the reasons for this video is that, rambling about this sort of thing is pretty fun to me. And the people who would find listening to this fun are probably the type of people I want to keep around. I've totally lost the plot here. But the point is that making stuff in itself should be rewarding and fun. And a lot of times it's like not rewarding and fun. It's actually pretty suffering and frustrating. But that's also part of the fun sometimes, I guess. Because at least you're making something and learning something from it. Sometimes when I'm making something and I get really frustrated, I'm like, this is just the worst. I don't know how to do this. It's so much work to do that. And I know that I'm hitting a point where most people would give up. That's when I know I have to keep going. Because most people will not do the difficult things. And the things that extraordinary people achieve, it's because they've done the things that most people are not willing to do. And that is not like some dramatic thing being like, if you don't work 15 hours a day, you'll never achieve this. It's that most people don't know how to have fun with themselves. Okay? That's actually kind of the truth, in my opinion. The people, in my opinion, who make it the highest are the ones who like know themselves the best and the ones who know how to enjoy themselves the most in that process. Because knowing oneself and doing the things that make oneself happy can actually be quite hard. Like if you want to draw, if you want to make videos, if you want to do this creative thing that you've always wanted to do, it's actually quite hard to break all of the barriers standing between you and doing this thing that you love. And the people who go the furthest are the ones that nurture that relationship between you and the thing you want to do. It's the people who return over and over to that thing that is difficult, but that they love. They continue to break those barriers within themselves, and the people who probably suffer the most are the people who are fighting imaginary enemies. Enemies that don't exist anywhere but their imagination, and lose. The people who succeed are fighting those same enemies, but they just win every time, or they win most of the time. The more you win against those imaginary enemies in your head that are telling you, like, don't do this because it's been done. It's not good enough. The people are gonna hate it. It's not gonna get any sort of reception. People are gonna judge you. It's not gonna be as good as you thought it was gonna be. So don't try at all. We're all fighting those same thoughts and voices, but the people who go the furthest are the ones who are able to fight the correct battle. When I was learning my art fundamentals, this just reminded me of this moment where like I was so concerned with how my art was being received by social media. Anytime I started to draw, I would be like, if this isn't received well, there's no point in doing this. And that would prevent me from doing a lot of stuff. But I started like telling myself, this is not a battle between me and the audience and the numbers. This is a battle purely between me and the thing I'm making. A battle between me and the paper, me and this pen. The battle is happening here. It's not happening with anyone else. It's happening in the editing software, on the paper, with the camera right now. This is our battleground, and not the like millions and millions of strangers on the internet who may or may not like the thing that you've created. That's not what we should be focused on right now. The only thing you're focused on is the act of creating and realizing your idea. Once you figure that out, once you figure out how to fight this, the rest of it comes so easy. I guarantee it. And I think that's what I've been lacking for a while. When I don't post, when I don't upload, when I don't continuously finish things, I start to lose faith in myself, essentially, that I can win these battles at all. The longer I go without fighting, without exercising this muscle, essentially, without going into war, the longer I spend without doing that, the less faith I have in myself to be able to win. But if you continuously practice, if you continuously try, you begin to build faith within yourself. And faith within yourself will eventually start to show when you present yourself and your creations to others. Are you fighting the right battles? And, it might not be the greatest metaphor to call art a battle, because you might be like, maybe art is my friend. Art is not a war. But for me, it does kind of seem like I'm always fighting. I'm always, like, battling. It feels like a conflict, and that's kind of exciting. That's a story. And, seeing creativity as a war, it doesn't have to be that dramatic. It's kind of more like taming a wild stallion, like Spirit, the horse, who I did have a crush on when I was little. Like taming something that does not want to be tamed. It's like an enemies to lovers situation. It's like, ooh, you're fighting me, but you want me so bad. It's sort of deal. Like, I know you're pushing back, but it's so sexy of you. Sort of deal. It's like kind of fun like that. Like, I know we're fighting right now, but when we do work together, it's gonna be the most insane collab ever. me shaking hands with the me inside of me who does not want to realize my creative potential. Like, I'm gonna beat you up. I'm gonna tame you. You're gonna work for me. Okay, that's enough. That's enough.